Champagne soul is often used to describe the music of this episode's guest, and that style is what took her and her group to the top of the charts and helped them win 6 Grammy Awards, including Record of the Year twice, with hits like Aquarius, Wedding Bell Blues, One Less Bell, Stone Soul Picnic, and Up, Up and Away. This group helped to define the musical landscape of the 1960s and 70s. And if you haven't guessed by now, I'm talking about the Fifth Dimension, one of my all-time favorite groups. So when I found out I was going to get to interview founding member Florence LaRue, I was literally jumping for joy. History repeating. Welcome back to History Repeating. I'm Ryan, and for those who aren't familiar with the show, we are a completely student-run radio and YouTube program based in Toronto, Canada, with a focus on shining a light on some of the best artists from the 1950s to the 90s. And today's guest is one of the biggest we've ever had. So let's get right into it. The Fifth Dimension was started in 1965 by Lamont McLemore, Ronald Townsend, Billy Davis Jr., Marilyn McCoo, and Florence LaRue. Originally, they called themselves the Versatiles, a fitting name as their musical style incorporated elements of pop, soul, light opera, jazz, and Broadway show tunes. They first auditioned for Motown, but were turned down by Berry Gordy. However, Motown exec Mark Gordon believed in them so much that he offered to manage them himself. And by '66, the group landed on the name The Fifth Dimension, and were signed to Soul City Records. By the beginning of '67, they released their first hit single, a cover of the Mama and the Papas' Go Where You Wanna Go. But its success would soon be eclipsed when the group released the Jimmy Webb pop masterpiece, Up, Up and Away. Up and away, my beautiful, my beautiful. Which won 6 Grammys and catapulted the group into a career most could only dream of. With the help of talented writers like Webb, Ashford and Simpson, Burt Bacharach, and Laura Nyro, the group remained on top of the charts for nearly a decade. But who better to tell you the story than one of the Fifth Dimension themselves? So without further ado, here is Florence LaRue.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop interviewing you and let you interview me.
Well, I guess to start off with you is I always like to ask, who were you listening to when you were growing up?
Wow. When I was growing up, I listened to a lot of Motown music because I enjoyed dancing. But I also was very much appreciated symphonic music because I was a violinist, and I would often go to hear the Philadelphia Orchestra conducted by Eugene Ormandy.
Do you think that influenced the music or what you've kind of done in your career?
Actually, I never intended to become a singer. I wanted to be an actress, but music has always been very important in my life. Also, I did study cello and ballet, so that, I was very much into the classical side. As I matured, I now appreciate almost all kinds of music. I like country music, you name it, depending upon the situation that I'm experiencing at the time. I'm sure that my youthful enjoyment of music did influence my love of music today. My father served in Europe a lot in the Army, and I think he was a big influence on me really enjoying classical music.
How did you if you wanted to be an actress, how did you get started singing?
Well, as I said before, I wanted to be an actress. I was very influenced by Lena Horne. There weren't very many black actresses at that time in the movies, too, but Lena Horne was just one of my favorites. I lived in Glenside, Pennsylvania, and I wanted to, as I said, I wanted to be an actress, but my family moved to California, largely because of the weather. And my mother encouraged me to get my education before seeking in a career in acting. And I did get my teaching credential. Um, Wanting to be an actress, I didn't know how to go about auditioning, quote unquote, or how to get into the business. So friends entered me into beauty contests so I could be discovered. And I was blessed to win quite a few. I was Miss Coppertone, I was Miss this, Miss that. But the year I entered the Miss Bronze California contest, I won the talent. And I sang April in Paris in French. And the young man who was the photographer for the contest mentioned to me that he had a group, but nothing was really happening with the group. So one of the young ladies left her, but she got a very good job. And would I replace her? I said, oh, no, 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 because I'm not really a singer. Actually, I'm going to be an actress, and I'm in college full-time and working 8 hours a day. So I don't have time to come to rehearsals, so thank you, but no thank you. Well, he persisted, and that man was Melba Moore, and the rest is history. That's how I got into the group. It's interesting because years later, when the Fifth Dimension was quite popular, I met a gentleman who said to me, I know you don't remember me, but I was one of the judges when you were in the Miss Bronze California contest. And all the young ladies walked out in their gowns and presented their talents. But when you came out in that white suit and that white hat and sang April in Paris in French, Eartha Kitt, who was one of the judges, looked at us and said, there's your winner.
What was it kind of like then when the Fifth Dimension, the five of you were together in a recording studio for the first time?
I must share with you that I never really cared for recording that much because I am more of a performer than a singer. As a matter of fact, there are girls who sang in that contest that I won who are probably still wondering how I won. But getting back to the recording, I enjoy connecting with my audience and communicating with the audience. So recording was very difficult for me because sometimes we sang songs over and over until we got them perfected. And at times I even had a tendency to sing a little flat. I did discover years later that I had a little hearing loss. But it was exciting being in the recording studio for the first time because, to make a record that people would hear was something that we looked forward to. But as I said, personally, it was not my favorite. It was my least favorite thing to do.
So then once you had success, were you expecting that? Because a lot of people remember Up, Up and Away as the first big one, but Go Where You Want to Go, the first single, was a pretty big hit itself.
It's interesting. I expected to have success, but years later, I never expected it to come as soon as it did. I thought, we'll be in the business for years, and then maybe, we're going to hit record. So it was exciting. I remember when I first heard Up, Up and Away on the radio, I was driving down Sunset Boulevard with the radio on, and I just put my windows down. Oh, that's me. It was very exciting.
And then were you expecting then at the Grammys to just win all the major awards, basically?
I must tell you, Up, Up and Away was nominated for, I think, about 5 Grammys. And we were so excited. Oh, well, maybe we'll win one. So we went out and bought these beautiful costumes. We call them our Grammy costumes. And sitting there hoping that we would win one. Well, actually, that night we won 3.
And you won Record of the Year, and then you won Record of the Year again, which not a lot of people have won it twice.
That was very exciting. It was really a blessing. It was a blessing to me, not only because of the award itself, but because of the joy that the music brought to people. And as I said, I never even expected to be a singer.
And so that must have been something to not expect to be a singer and then end up, being in one of the most popular groups at the time.
And here I am over 55 years later, and the only original member who remained with the group, because the original Fifth Dimension was only together for 10 years. But I've continued the group with some wonderful singers, and we've been very successful. We haven't recorded yet, but we are considering recording.
And when was the last time that you were in the studio recording?
Oh my goodness, it's been years because we did record a couple of songs. As a matter of fact, we had one CD that we recorded with Dick Clark's company before he passed away, but it wasn't really released. Uh, so we haven't really recorded since the original group. I mean, we haven't released the record. We recorded some things that were not released.
So, I mean, it would be nice, I guess, for a lot of fans to get another record after all these years.
Yes, it would be. It would be exciting for us too. We do realize, however, that the music industry has changed, and our audience really is, I would say, between 50 and up. So we're just introducing our music to younger people. As a matter of fact, we have young people that come to our show with their parents kind of reluctantly because they don't know our music. And at the end of the show, they come up and say, "Hey, you guys were great. I really enjoyed that show."
And I have to say that I'm coming to one of your shows in Niagara Falls coming up, and I'm bringing my friend along because I told her, I was like, trust me, you're gonna love it. So
well, I hope she shall.
oh, she definitely will. So after Up and Away, what kind of was the group thinking about after having such a big record? Did you guys feel any pressure having to follow it up with an equally big record?
Well, I did. As I said, the original group disbanded after 10 years because we weren't really having success in recording. And two of the members decided, well, we want to go on and have our own career. And so, but I just really believed in the group, and I was excited because I felt that we had a type of music that was really needed. People try to identify our music, and many people, just because we're a black group, some people put us in the category of R&B. But we are not an R&B group. We're not a pop group. Someone coined a phrase that I like, and that was champagne soul, because we sing a little bit of everything in our show. As a matter of years ago, we did Pagliacci, Best of the Jukebox on Pagliacci. But our recordings really did not represent the total dimensions of the group, because our recordings were mostly pop. And then some people thought that we were trying to sound white, but we weren't. We were just using the voices that God gave us, and we didn't sound like what people expected a black group to sound like. Our manager was was brilliant in having us perform in New York City at the festival. As a matter of fact, the documentary Summer of Soul won an Oscar, and it showed us performing there for a predominantly black group. And that was, they saw that we were a black group, and they really loved it, and that we were just singing, as I said, using the voices that God gave us. And we did R&B too.
Yeah, and I think I can't remember who said it, but I've seen in interviews with you guys from back in the 70s and that it's how can you color a sound, because you can't.
Right.
And
because like I said, I like classical, I like country, I like R&B, and now you have black and white singers doing all genres of songs. So you really don't know what race the artist is.
And
it's interesting. I starred in two plays in Canada, one in Toronto, and that's one of the things that really made me love Canada, is that it seemed to be less prejudice there. I don't know.
So you guys had a massive hit with Aquarius Let the Sunshine In. I mean, it's still one of the biggest hits of any group of all time. How did that kind of come about? Because hair was very big at the time. How did how did you guys get to record that song?
Fifth Dimension was performing at the Americana Hotel in New York City, and one of the gentlemen lost his wallet, and a man found it in a taxi and brought it to him at our show. He refused the rewards of what we invited him to our show. He in turn invited us to his show, and he was one of the producers of Hair. Well, when we heard Ronnie Dyson singing Aquarius, we just said, oh my goodness, what a great song. And we took it to our producer, Bones Al, and he said, yeah, it's a good song, but there's a cast album out, and it's not really happening. Why don't we put Aquarius with Let the Sun Shine In, which is another song that was in the play. And that's how the rest is, as I said, is history.
And what is the fan reaction like when you perform that song still today?
Oh, it's one of the biggest shows. I'm sorry, it's one of the biggest songs in the show, and people remember it because it reminds them of their childhood. You know, the seniors and the young people, I think, like it because Aquarius speaks of something that the world needs, which is harmony and understanding. A lot of people ask us, did we do it, because of the astrological sign? And I am, as they say, an Aquarian, but I don't believe in astrology. We recorded it because it spoke of just really very positive things that should happen in the world.
And over the years, how would you say that your audience has changed? Would you say that you still get the same reception that you did back in the 70s?
Oh, the reception is just the same, but not greater. However, the age has changed because the people that first heard us are aging with us, and we have a lot more of the people. But a lot of the young people come too because they've heard our song. It was Aquarius was in Forrest Gump. It's been played. Our music has been played in different commercials, so they are aware of the song. Some of them aren't aware of the name, The Fifth Dimension, but they are aware of our music.
And over your career with the Fifth Dimension, you guys recorded tons of songs by Laura Nyro, and were probably, I guess, the biggest, vehicle for her songs. You had many hits with her recordings. So, what
Actually, we only recorded several of Laura Nyro's songs. Most of our songs were written by Jimmy Webb, who wrote Up and Away, and a whole album of songs, which is my favorite Fifth Dimension album, The Magic Garden.
Which I think is, people have said that it's one of the first concept albums in pop music.
It was wonderful, and it was great enjoyment making that album because it tells the story of a young man whose heart was broken by someone that he loved.
That album has some, I would say, quite a few of my all-time favorite Fifth Dimension songs on it. It's such a good one, especially from start to finish.
Mine also. And it's interesting because it wasn't our biggest selling album.
Which is hard to imagine. I guess, didn't it? It had the worst that could happen on it, but it wasn't a hit for you.
Oh yes, my favorite. And we never released that as a single because we had another song out. We were going to, but then the Brooklyn Bridge heard it. They recorded it as a single, but we recorded it first.
And I'm sure had that one been a single, the album would have done much better because that would have been a big hit.
Right, I think I agree.
Then when you were after that album, you didn't do any more concept albums, but were you still working with Jimmy Webb?
Yes, we were working with Jimmy Webb, but we really didn't record a lot after that. We were busy performing live.
And you mentioned the Harlem Cultural Festival from 1969, which it's been said that your show alone had over 60,000 people show up to it. So do you remember that moment being on stage that day?
Oh, yes, it was wonderful to look out and see all of those faces in the audience enjoying themselves. It was great. Of course, a lot of them, they were what they called hippies, so they were dressed really amazingly.
And then you also had your own TV special, the Traveling Sunshine Show. Was that had you ever, like, I guess being an actress, was that kind of like exciting for you to get to have your own TV special?
It was exciting, but it was still, to me, a musical. It wasn't like when I started in the plays in Canada, it was a musical, but there was more acting. So I didn't really have a chance to do a lot of acting in that because I was pregnant with my son.
So, when did you finally start, acting and doing plays and that?
Well, I didn't do a lot. That was the only play I really did as a solo performer because, I was still a member of the Fifth Dimension and I took time off from the group to do that. Now, the Fifth Dimension did perform Ain't Misbehaving. I don't know if you're aware of that Fats Waller music. That was probably one of the highlight of our career for me because we did do a lot of, have a chance to do acting and performing with the songs. I really enjoyed that.
I was actually just about to ask you about Ain't Misbehaving. Then the original Fifth Dimension did have a bit of a reunion, but for the most part, it's been you really, especially since Lamont stopped performing with the group. You've been really keeping the name, the Fifth Dimension, alive and keeping the legacy going.
Yes, I have, and I've been blessed because people are receiving the music. Also, when I choose new people to join the group, I keep in mind the total Fifth Dimension concept. I mean, it's a family oriented show. I want people who will really carry on the Fifth Dimension tradition.
What do you hope that people are going to remember in the future, let's say 50 years from now, about the Fifth Dimension and about the music?
Well, for one thing, I hope that they will remember that our music brought people together through music. I mean, people of all nationalities, people of all ages, and it was very spiritual. Now, when I say spiritual, I don't mean religious. I mean a spiritual. Uh, Also, I think I would like to feel that we brought the generations together, because many times older people don't like the young people's music. The young people don't like the older people's music. So I think that music can really bring them together, bring a respect for each other and love.
For you personally, what has being a part of the Fifth Dimension and having this career meant to you?
Wow. For me, it's an unexpected blessing because I never expected to have a career like this, especially, as I said, in music. I was hoping to have a successful acting career, but it's allowed me to meet people all over the world, to share love through my music. It's just been an awesome experience to bring joy to others. Of course, when I'm on stage, I enjoy getting the applause. The, the most thing that really excites me is after the show when people come up and they're joyful. Thank you for bringing joy into my life. Um, for I was so happy to have great memories, and you brought back those memories. It's just a wonderful, wonderful feeling to be able to be a part of that.
And of all the Fifth Dimension songs, is there a particular one that's your favorite?
Wow. Um, well, there's a song again on the Magic Garden album. Trying to remember the name of it. Misty Roses is one. We don't do it in the show, and we've never released it as a single, but it's just a beautiful song. As far as the ones that we perform, I like One Less Spell, because I think Hal David and Burt Bacharach wrote a beautiful song, and they tell a story that most of us have experienced. And then, of course, I like Aquarius because it speaks of hope for the future. Those are probably my two favorite Fifth Dimension songs.
And what can people expect from the show?
Well, we hope they'll hear their favorite Fifth Dimension song. We do our hits because that's what people come to hear. But we also add a few different songs. I don't want to tell them exactly what they'll hear because actually I sort of peruse the audience and see the ages, and sometimes I might change something at the last minute. So I hope that they'll hear, as I said, their favorite Fifth Dimension songs and me feeling joyful.
Florence is a true legend, and the Fifth Dimension is without a doubt one of the greatest artists of all time. I recommend checking out some lesser known songs like Orange Air, Harlem, and Band of Gold. And be sure to stay tuned for new interviews with amazing artists, such as the Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, the Rascals, country music's most famous quartet, the Oak Ridge Boys, and disco legend Linda Clifford. I'm Ryan, and until next time, this has been History Repeated.